Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Albert Campa and Joel with episode 159 CantinaMX podcast. What's going on, Joel?
¿Qué huele, chiquis? Just here enjoying a nice cold brew.
I'm over here freezing. It's like 50 degrees in Texas.
It's pretty windy over here. Not cold, but very windy.
Oh, yeah. So, on the agenda for today, starting off with, I just want to talk to Chile.
Chile. Yeah, the Chile match played in Querétaro, that put an end to the Tuca experiment. His uh his short stint once again with the national team, and if anything, that was a way to get a lot of the young players, a lot of the new players, get them in the mix now because they're looking to renovate or rebuild the selección. And the results weren't, you know, nothing to write home about. But considering the opponents they played, and that it was a young squad, it was there was a lot of positive things because they played in Uruguay that was pretty much the World Cup, the World Cup squad. The Costa
Yep.
Rica was also the World Cup squad, um, and then they faced Chile, who didn't qualify to the World Cup, but the quality of players that they have and they play in the some of the top teams in the world, it's still a very talented Chilean team, uh, and they're the they're the reigning campeones of the Copa America. They beat Argentina in the Centenario, and so that was a very strong team, and then of course the defeat to the U.S., which is important to note because the U.S. is doing pretty much the same thing as Mexico. They're rebuilding their team, and you know I still think of Mexico with when you add some of the veteran players, they'll be much stronger. I think the U.S. doesn't have that just because they had like they have less players in their pool, and some of their better talent is on their way out, like Dempsey and Bradley. I don't think they're going to be as you know
Well, yeah,
as
people are
as
complaining. People are complaining that Bradley's still around, and like some
yeah,
of the
but
older guys are still around.
they help. They help when you have like a handful of their young talent that we mentioned here earlier. Some of the players like Green, who played in the when was it in the World Cup with 2014. Man,
Yeah,
he's still a pretty young guy. George Weah, not George Weah, George Weah's son. I forget his first name. He's 18. Also promising wood. They got a few others coming up through the ranks. But it's important because you know you can't not talk about the U.S. if you're talking about Mexico, and same with U.S. just because of the rivalry, in the region. And there's a lot that's going on between both countries as they're set to host the World Cup in 2026. There's been recent talk that they might even do a joint league or a cup tournament, you know, um, between Mexico, U.S., probably Canada, and then just recently, CONMEBOL, the South American Football Confederation, confirmed that they're in talks to bring in MLS and Liga MX back into Copa Libertadores. And if that happens, obviously, we're talking about more, same participation of these countries back in Copa America.
yeah, yeah. It's a lot of stuff. One thing I noted out of the Chile friendly was well. You talked about like some of the older players. The Chile game, I think Tuca wanted to do well against Chile, especially since the 7-0. So there was a lot of like he had Tecatito, he had Chucky, he had Raul Jimenez. He had like a lot of the good players, a lot of the starting players.
Yes.
And they went out like giving all their effort. They really
Well,
wanted to.
Araujo made his comeback. Important
Yeah,
to note,
Araujo.
Araujo is defender. For those that don't know, he
Yeah, he
is.
did good.
Yeah, he was good leading into the 2018 World Cup. He was regarded as the best Mexican defender in Liga MX, and and arguably one of the better ones. Because they'll draw comparisons between him and Hector Moreno. But it was a big loss. He got injured and he missed out on the World Cup. And then he got picked up by Celta de Vigo, which is being coached by Turco Mohamed, who was at Monterrey. And he's been doing good in La Liga. And, well, at least the games I saw, he's looked good.
He
Uh,
did good. He did good last
yeah.
night, I think.
And so he's back in La Selección. And that's when, the Selección is going to be much stronger when you bring in even like Hector Moreno and Salcedo and some of these other guys that haven't gotten a call.
Yeah, I think that the older guys did okay. Tecatito, everyone was saying he did really well, but towards the end, like his final touch was always not too good. Even the young guy, I think Gutierrez played really well, and
Yes. Well, he scored a golazo, man. Um, he
oh
scored a
yeah, for
golazo
PSV.
in the. No, no, no. The other. I
Oh,
got, I
against
got, I got him confused, man. I got him confused. I was thinking the other guy. Is the beer talking cheekies? Don't pay
yeah,
attention to that.
Eric Gutierrez hasn't. Yeah, I don't think he scored for the national team, but for PSV he did score one golazo a few games back.
Yeah, so the,
Um,
the loss was 1-0 defeat to Chile. Pretty
yeah,
tough loss since it came at the final minutes of the match. Uh,
and
that would have
Gonzalez
been
was
a
doing
nice
well.
tie.
Hugo Gonzalez was doing well the whole match until the end where he failed. He bounced the ball back to the Chilean player.
Yeah, well, it was, difficult shot. But yeah, he could have done better. It was a difficult shot. It's a low shot
Well, they're like always
from
taught as a
outside the
goalkeeper
box.
to you're always taught to deflect that out to the sides
Yes.
or over the crossbar. But yeah, it's sometimes it doesn't happen. And then you
Yeah,
could also
man.
blame Reyes. Reyes didn't track back, but that always happens to defenders. They're not as hungry as an offensive guy trying to score a goal. And Nico Castillo, former Pumas player, beat Diego Reyes to the ball and scored.
Yeah. And speaking of, because if you guys were watching the match on Univision, uh, the first 14 minutes, they were on the little screen because the U.S. game was still being played. They were
Yeah.
playing Peru. So I missed it, Chiquis. How did that match end? Because I've been keeping pretty close tabs on the Yanks just to gauge how they're gonna
Oh,
do.
I missed the goal, but I missed both goals actually. But the
Híjole.
U.S. was losing 1-0 towards the end, and I was tuning in, and I got distracted, and apparently, and the next thing I see is the U.S. score a goal to tie it up, and it was that guy
Okay.
Sargent. That guy Sargent. I guess he's like a young player, a big guy coming up. Tied up the game and ended up one. Oh no,
1-1.
I got it wrong. Yeah, the U.S. is up one. Oh shoot, I don't even remember
Peru
now.
Peru tied it in the 86.
Peru. Yeah, U.S. was
Yeah.
up one by Sargent, and then the Peru tied it at the end of the game. Yeah.
I don't know that Sargent guy, but I expect them to be very competitive. I think they're gonna challenge for the Gold Cup, and then CONCACAF, they're gonna do what Europe is doing with the League of Nations. CONCACAF is gonna have a similar League of Nations. So I think in both tournaments, I see them doing pretty good. I see them doing pretty good, and then you have Costa Rica, who just announced Matosas as coach. So it's interesting to see what he's going to bring to the table. And that's also a team that's going to need some renovation. I mean, they're using some of their older players, and that could backfire, man.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not saying Costa Rica. Well, like since you've been really looking at the U.S. team, and that sort of made me do so as well. I think they are going to be really good. I initially thought earlier this year that they're on a downhill, but with this youth and just with their style of play being really physical and being really defensive, organized well on the defensive side,
Yeah.
I think they're going to cause Mexico problems.
And one thing they've always excelled in has been in the physical aspect.
Yeah,
They've always been that's something where they I was watching one of the it was I think it was a road it was like a road to Brazil 2014, and they were it was like a kind of like a documentary, and they were doing the physical preparation, and it's something that one of the US players said it stuck to me, and he was saying the other teams might be more talented, or they might have these, world class players, or more tradition, more whatever he says. But he's like, they're not gonna beat us in the physical game. He
yeah,
said if we could excel in anything, it's gonna be in this conditioning and outrunning everyone and I was like, whoa. So I mean, they take that very serious. So I think, and the way the game has evolved, it is way more physical. I'm gonna try to look. There's some stats that came out from FIFA, and they were talking about, you know, the numbers, how they've improved. For example, shots from outside goal, uh, the accuracy, also like goals from corner kicks, how many, how it used to be one out of every like 40, now it's one of every 30. So stuff like that. So yeah, the game has definitely become way more physical now. It's important to have really good athletes.
yeah. Yeah, because I think technical ability and tiki taka type of style play can beat teams if you play it right. But if the U.S. if you can't play it to a high level, I think the U.S. style of play of bunkering back and playing strong defensively can frustrate, and we've seen it frustrate the Mexican players, and they get all upset and
Well, they already beat us again. just
yeah,
just off the bat in this friendly, they already got a win. Which I wouldn't be worried. Uh, you know, I wouldn't be worried just because I think at the end of the day, when Mexico brings in other top players, they will be that much more stronger.
yeah, yeah. We'll see. One thing I do take away from the Chile game and actually all the friendlies recently is that I don't think Tuca, and this is experimental stuff what he was
Yeah.
doing, but I don't see much I didn't see great things out of Tuca. I wasn't impressed. So I mean I don't know. A lot of people weren't happy about having Tuca. I was sort of indifferent, but I didn't think he was going to be the solution of anything. I'm more excited for Tata Martinez. Oh,
Well,
Tata
I mean,
Martino.
that's like that's that we see with prevalent theme with Mexico fans where they expect the team to just because a certain coach comes in to like to raise to this level, to all of a sudden or play this certain way. And a lot of times you know, we kind of like romanticize. So
Hmm.
we've done it with La Volpe. Even I was reading about Martino and someone brought up La Volpe and he said I was reading the comments, um, because there was an announcement recently that the announcement was from TV Azteca. They were saying that it is a done deal that the Argentine Gerardo Tata Martino is gonna take over the selección in December once his contract with MLS side Atlanta runs out, or ends. And so I was reading some of the comments, and this guy said the only foreign coach where that I've seen Mexico play really good was La Volpe. And yeah, and it was true, but it was like a handful of games. You know, there's a few games where Mexico looked really good, and then there's a whole bunch where it's pretty bad, man. They're pretty forgetful, and that's just what happened. We forgot. Um, but I don't see it that way where we expect too much from the coach. I'm more in the line of thinking where they say a coach, you know, he's only going to bring in about 15%, of how a team does, and then the
Hmm.
rest is the players. So depending the quality of players you have, that that to me is more indicative of how well the team is going to do. Um,
Yeah.
so with to me for like with Ferretti, I think he did a good job with this youth. I really like how the team would not fall apart. A lot of times when they were getting outplayed, out hustled, I felt that they showed me this attitude that they didn't just give up. Compared to the selección under JCO, where I felt a few times the team would just sometimes surrender.
Oh
Where
yeah.
the going got tough, and then they just packed it in, and it was like, all right, we
Maybe that's a lingering mentality from because that's what happened long ago, like from 2002. That generation had that mentality, like with the U.S. in the World Cup, and then even after that, all the 2-0s, they would pack it in on a regular basis. And then maybe that's sort of that mentality sort of going away as these generations go away, and these youth like that's one thing I do like what Tuca did was bring in the youth.
yeah,
Um,
and he proved a lot of people wrong because they were saying Tuca doesn't work with youth. He's not gonna give them a chance. And then once he did it in both, because there was two, 4 games, two separate call-ups, then people just sort of forgot. No one said, "Hey, we were wrong." They just moved on to the next thing. But I do think they're working pretty well as a group. I'm gonna mention Dennis DeClose, who he was working with the youth national teams for Mexico before he took over his current role. He's like sporting director now of the national team. So
mhm.
I do think that they're keeping tabs on like the players they're calling up, and they have a good idea of which players are going to be there. And when we talk about players, it's about 80 players that end up getting called up in the 4-year cycle. 80 players, man. That's
Yeah,
basically any player in Liga MX is doing good, he's gonna get called up.
does that includes Jonathan Gonzalez? I
All of them,
saw
dude.
I
Any
saw a
player
tweet.
that's titular, pretty much every Mexican titular in Liga MX is gonna get a call up sooner or later, Just, which is alarming because it shows how very little. There's not that many players that your chances are that good to get a cap.
Yeah, but even if you do like, because somebody tweeted today that they were upset, or it was upsetting that Jonathan Gonzalez didn't get to start or didn't get to play. I think in this last
Yes.
game, and I just asked why. I mean, I think I called it a long time ago. I was like, it could very easily be that he gets called up these few early times and everyone's really high on him, and then like in a year or so, he's just like lost. He's gone,
Well, I mean,
and
he could have
that
had an
upsets
injury.
people.
He could have had a sprain or some light injury, and they're not gonna risk him
Okay, so that's
over a
one scenario.
Molero, huh?
Yeah, that's one scenario.
Because he is he's gonna play an important role. I mean, he's gonna get called up with the youth national teams as well. He's gonna be part of the Olympic squad. He's gonna be in the proceso, man. We've called it before. I just people jumped the gun because when they brought him in, and then you had all these fans passing out, and they were talking about he was gonna get taken to the World Cup. And I
Yeah,
remember I posted No, more likely the Olympics, which are in October. And I guarantee you he's going to be on the Olympic squad.
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning. Sort of like it's it's like since we talk Mexican soccer in English, and that guy's Mexican American, we identify and we like, oh, he's Mexican American just like me. I want
Yeah,
he needs to get his chance. He needs to start. And think if he doesn't pan out like after the Olympics and after all these matches, it's sort of like, okay, this dude, uh, wasted his shot, or he gave up the U.S. team, and if it doesn't work for Mexico, then now what he does? What now? What does he do? I guess it's just back to the club. But
yeah, yeah. No, but I don't think he's wasted. It's his opportunity to waste. It's not wasted because he chose Mexico. It would only be wasted if he doesn't maintain, if he doesn't maintain a quality. A, a, if he's not consistent with his quality
yeah,
of play. That's the
yeah, that's
only
what
way he would get dropped. Other than that, he's on the right path.
yeah,
I
that's
think
what I
they
think
will.
is a possibility. Though that's a very
Yeah.
good,
Well,
like
it's
for
always a
me,
path.
yeah, for any
Yeah,
player, it's a possibility. But I think especially for that type of,
you're down on the Pocho players, Chiquis. You have little faith.
yeah, I got little faith in the Pochos.
No, no, Pocho power, man. Um, yeah, there hasn't been too many. There hasn't been too many that have, romperla. There's probably been some in the past. We just didn't hear about it. You know, some other players way back. Um, it just wasn't an issue back then. But yeah, he's one of the hopes. But I think there'll be continue, especially with the leagues merging and all this. More teams, especially MLS, making more teams. You know, um, I do think we're gonna see more Mexican American players. uh, You know, on both sides of the border.
Yeah, I don't know about the merging. I don't know what to think of that. If that's a good idea, or I tend to think not. But
Well, I
I don't
think
know.
in the long run it is. I mean, the way that the Mexican teams are seeing it is that they already reach a cap. They already reach a limit, I should say, not a cap. They already reach a limit on how many teams can maintain a competitive squad, or how much more can they grow. Because you have Liga MX, and to still have teams like Lobos, Buap, creeping into first, and with like a 5K stadium and can't get TV deals, it kind of brings the quality. Nothing against Lobos, but it sort of brings down the prestige and the quality of the league. You know,
Yeah.
which I don't think it should. Just, but the way that football is now, with all the big signings and very expensive, you know.
Well, I think all leagues, like the Spanish league, is pretty much a two-team league. Like what,
Yeah,
like
they
so they're all leagues have like real mediocre sort of teams.
no, I know, but the way that Liga MX fancies itself, they've been trying to become like kind of like the Premier League, where they want all the teams to have like the fancy stadiums, and we've been seeing, it's something we were talking about since like the early 2000s. I don't know if you remember Al, when they were filtering all that news. That we used to write about it on Big Soccer, and then the news was coming out how it used to be Primera A. Mexico's
Yeah,
Primera A wants to, and then they were gonna call it La Premier Mexican Premier League, and
yeah,
this goes back to like
yeah. I
early,
remember that.
like around 2005, that this info was coming out, and since then, which has been a good 13 years, we've seen like new stadiums being built, and we've seen or stadiums being renovated and improved, you know. So I do think they've been pushing for that, but I think they kind of realized like, okay, there's only so many teams that are going to be able to do it. The rest of their teams are never gonna get it together. And there's been like a lot of corruption with like the small, the government of towns using using the teams to like launder money and whatnot.
Yeah,
And yeah, so that's one thing they're trying to cut off, where they're saying, okay, the state can can't have stock in the club.
Pachuca.
But well, yeah, Pachuca is one of them, but it's Pachuca. They got, you could say they got grandfathered in. But I'm not sure if that happened with Lobos. But I know there's there was talk about it with which is there was talk about it when the Liga MX was announcing that um they were cutting off the promotion relegation, and that was part of it because they were trying to get rid of all these investors that were going into like the second division, the Liga de Ascenso, and then just using the teams to, you know, just for money reasons, not so much because they want to own a team, but how they could use a team to move money. So like Pachuca, like as you mentioned, like the state or the governor like gave them all this land where, and then they don't pay taxes. So there was a lot of shady stuff going on there, where it's like it was it was the people were paying for it, without getting anything in return.
Yeah, shady stuff. I don't know. I think the travel would be an issue if the MLS and Liga MX combine, and then I don't know.
Well, I mean, depending how they do it, they could do it by divisions. They could do you know,
Yeah,
they
I guess
could
they
do
could
it
figure
by
something out.
not divisions. Huh? I should have said
I like to keep
la,
things
la,
separate. I like to keep things separate, but
separate but equal, chiquis.
it seems like they're looking for money. They're looking for U.S. money.
Well, yeah, I mean that this is the big market though. I think if you're looking at where football could become a big thing, it's in the U.S. There was even was it in the what was it? There was like I think a documentary on Man City, and they were talking about like how like the markets that they look for when they were trying to like push their product, and that was like one of the big reasons they have the New York Football Club that they bought it, and so
Mm,
yeah, I think this MLS is one of the MLS like in the U.S. is one of the markets where it's expected to get better, especially with the World Cup coming back again to the U.S.
yeah,
So I mean, just look at Los Angeles. I think that's a good example. You had Chivas USA, which was a failed experiment, and and even though that team failed miserably, and I think at the time, I think Jorge Vergara had bought the franchise at the time for about 20 million, and and then so once that it crashed, he sold the franchise back to the league, and then the group of investors bought it. I think it's about 100 million that they paid for it. I mean, you're talking about a team that failed, man. That's you know, oh goddamn, that's a lot of money.
they got a lot of well, they got a lot of beef for their like Latin players only rules and
What
all
you
that
mean,
stuff.
Chivas USA?
Yeah, Chivas USA.
That you know what? It was poorly planned, man. Everything, the
It
name,
was Mexican
everything was
players at first, right?
no, no. They weren't gonna do it. They weren't gonna, and
I think initially it was Mexicans, and then they changed it to
that was that was the original
or no.
idea. Like it's gonna be Mexicans and Mexican Americans. but
Yeah.
they just can't do it without, you could get lawsuits for discrimination and all that. So it was going to be like a heavily Mexican squad. So about half of it, they sent all these canteranos from Chivas. And it was a lot of bad players. They didn't really send their better players. They sent, a bunch of petardos. Just really bad players, man. Um, some of them, that's it. They're not even playing anymore. Uh, some of them, I should say, mostly, almost all of them. And then they sent some of the veteranos. They said, dude, they were damaged goods. They sent Ramon Ramirez. This guy had just gotten like a knee injury for like the fifth time. He could only play like 5 minutes, man. It was painful to see him. You know,
Hmm.
he,
Yeah.
he was just, he could do like a sprint and then he'll be gasping for air. It was bad. And then they sent Pulpo Zuniga. Pulpo Zuniga was like, he was a very iconic goalkeeper for Chivas, but he was injured goods, man. You know how long he lasted in the field? 5 minutes, dude. Inaugural match. He's in there for like 5 minutes. He does like a save. That's it. He couldn't get up.
He like
They carried they carried him out in the stretcher and they
he had a
put him.
lifeline. He had the lifeline button on his chest.
Yeah, he's pretty much, dude. And the young kid that they had was was Brad Gusan. They were calling him El Gusano. Brad
Yeah.
Gusan, and he ended up just being the starter. And he's a talented kid. He ended up going to Europe and playing in the World Cup and everything. So, but yeah, that team, like going back, 'cause I got to cover it at the time. I was doing some work for a newspaper in Mexico City. I was working with Martin, so I was covering the Chivas USA games. So I go to other home games, and I got to work with Luis Bueno. Guy was one of the first to do the Liga MX English. You don't hear about him, but he goes back to like 2002, man. Anyways, that team, who built that team? It was Hans helped build that team. So it was Hans that he brought some of the youth players, and then for the U.S. it was another Dutch guy, Thomas Rongen. And then all the ones that Thomas Rongen got, the gringos, they ended up doing way better. Way all the
Oh,
gringo talent, they just they excelled, man, because they had Brad Gusan, and then they had the Mexican Jew. What was his name? He ended up in Tigres. Man, I can't forget. I forget his name. Remember, he was a winger. Chiquis, you
uh,
don't remember? Come on, Chiquis, man, it'll come to me.
what'd you call him? The Mexican what?
He was a Jewish Mexican.
Oh, long hair guy.
No, he didn't have long hair. He had
Oh no.
brown hair, kind of curly. He ended up in Liga MX. He also played in Selección with the U.S. Uh, and and so they had Sasha Cleiston. Yeah, like five players that ended up all becoming, going to Europe or playing with the U.S. national team. God damn, it's gonna eat me up now. I can't believe I'm forgetting that dude's name.
Yeah, I can't think of it. They had some okay players back in the day. I think a Costa Rican guy, and maybe like some Honduran guy. And then
Like,
there's this one Cuban guy, I think, who defected. He played for Chivas
yeah,
USA, I believe.
yeah. He had like one really good season.
Yeah.
He had one just top season, and then he disappeared, man.
So, moving
It's
on.
Jonathan Bornstein.
Oh,
There you go.
Bornstein.
Bornstein. There you go. He's
Bornstein.
yeah. I don't know
He
how you
scored that.
pronounce
He's the
it.
one that scored that golazo against the Mexican national team
Yeah,
in the
he's
Gold Cup, right?
No, man, you're confusing them.
Oh, he's
You're
the one that screwed
confused.
up for he screwed up for the U.S.
Failbearer. You're thinking
Oh,
Failbearer.
Fellheimer, yeah.
Yeah. Nah, nah. Bornstein ended up playing in Liga MX. I think he went to Tigres and he might have played in another team. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah.
correct.
Oh, Tigres, Atlante, and Querétaro, man. So he was in Querétaro up until this season. Wow. Yeah, he fell off the radar. But you know, I mean, dude, that he was playing in Querétaro, it says a lot, man. Because you look at the Mexican talent that they sent, it's like they all disappeared. I think one of them was playing like in third division in Guatemala or something. They were, they did like a special, and I'm not kidding, dude. They would wait, and then they were riding back of a pickup to the games. Some some guy would just, you know, come and all the players would jump in the back. It's like Sunday pub team, man, and
Yeah.
then play in some dirt field, and that's where that guy was at. Like the yeah.
So what's next
But to
on the
get
docket? Oh, go ahead.
no, no, I mean, just looking back at that, Chivas, you were saying about how poorly planned it was, because they thought, okay, with the name, it's gonna do good, you know, Chivas, people are gonna see Chivas, but alienated a lot of fans, and then the whole Mexican only thing, it just wasn't gonna work in the U.S. I still think they could have been like a sister club, and then they could have just done their own thing, you know. Chivas used to be called Union. They could have just called it Union, or something like that, and it would have made more sense, you know. And then they could have brought in like Central American fans and whatnot, and then they could have been like, and then gringos and everything, and they could have just been like Club Union, you know, which
Yeah.
is how Chivas started. It was it was it was French, Belgians, English, Spaniards, Mexicans. That was that was Chivas in its early years, right, in its start. But I think they completely missed it, man. They missed the mark, and they were sharing the stadium with the Galaxy, and it was a mess. It was a mess. Okay, but enough talk on the Chivas.
Broncas. Uh, I didn't like the Vela Carlos Vela beef, and then Carlos Salcedo. I don't know if you want to go
GG's.
into that.
Yeah, but give me a second. I'm gonna have to disconnect. Give me like 2 minutes.
All right. Okay. So I guess since Joel's out, let me. So we're gonna talk to the. Let me go over this Carlos Salcedo problems he was having. Apparently, I mean, we knew from long ago that he had issues with his family. I think money grubbing issues. Um, he tweeted out a 3-page explanation of what's going on and issues that he pretty much aired out about his family, his mom, his dad, and his sister. And it seems to me, without going into every single word he put on that tweet, that um, he has his wife, his friends that are on his side, and everyone else are his cousins as well, and everyone else is against him, including his parents and his sister, who seem to be gold diggers. That's how I understand things from Salcedo's perspective, Carlos Salcedo. So that's a lot of drama going on. See if I can bring up this tweet, which is unfortunate because it's distracting from his play. So the last thing we need is him to have issues. But he's been playing all through it. He's been playing well for the national team for his club um, in Germany. So he seems to be a very strong willed, strong mentality. Um, Even going through all these problems with the closest of family. So yeah, he in his tweet he calls out Carlos Joel Salcedo Zamora and lists grievances against him, his dad. He lists his mother and goes A B C D list of things bad that she does, and then finally his sister A B C things bad that she did, including in all caps, put his career in risk, uh, which is crazy. Not something that family should do. Apparently, there's some. He claims there's some psychological uh, instability there with his sister as well. Some internment of clinics that she had experience being a what do you call it? Uh, in the loony bin, I guess, if you want to say it that way. So bad stuff going on there for Carlos Salcedo. We hope he uh, gets what he needs, as well as his family. That's one side of the story, at least. And then Carlos Vela had some issues. He had to clarify. I didn't read too much on what went on there, but pretty much the same deal. He had a statement. Someone trying to bring him down, blame him for things. Let me read it real quick. Yeah, just drama on his end as well. So we'll see what Ho wants to talk if he wants to go into any of that. But one thing we definitely want to do is go into the Liga MX week 13. We're getting close. We're in week 13. We've got 5 more weeks to go until the end of the season, and Liga commences. Week 13. I'll talk about this later this week, and for the game of the week, a match of the weekend. But I'm thinking to give a hint. I'm thinking it's going to have to do with cats. So,
I'm back, Chiquis.
what's up,
Did you
man?
miss me?
Yeah, just
What
rambling on a little bit.
what was the topic? Chiquis rant.
I wasn't ranting. I was just rambling about going over the Salcedo stuff.
Oh man, there's a lot. There's been some crazy stuff going on with seleccionados. Uh, so there's a lot with Salcedo, man. There's two
Salcedo
things
and
going.
Vela, right?
Yeah, there's two things with Salcedo. So one was he had gotten a girl pregnant a few years back, and it was like one of those adventures, those one-time things. And he found out when he was like, I think he had signed for Fiorentina when he had just left to Italy, or Germany, and then on to Italy. Anyways, so he talked about taking a DNA test, and he's like, "Yeah, I was always willing to be responsible, you know." But the
Yeah,
thing is, he's married. That's that's the thing. He's married, and then recently his mom was talking about that his wife was cheating on him, and I guess like that's probably as consequence. for him having his adventures. She was probably like, "Well, if you're gonna do it, I'm gonna do it."
I didn't. Well, in his statement, he said that his parents and his sister contacted the girl to make sure that she got what she deserved from him. And he eventually did get the DNA test and it came back good, or it came back, positive. And so he retroactively paid the 3 years for the girl. And
Hey,
it's going to
three
continue.
3 years.
Yeah, because the girl's 3 years old now, I guess. But
Oh,
but the parents and the
oh, he
sister
paid
were
back
like,
fees.
yeah,
He's
back
got that
fees.
on eight. That's an 18-year deal though, chickies. That's he still
Yeah,
have
yeah, but
uh
he's still going. He's still going. So
he still
he's going
has
to be
15
responsible.
more. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's gonna be responsible.
but his parents and stuff are getting into his business because I think they want they're money grubbers, man. They're gold diggers. That's what he's saying. And then he goes into this tweet, and it doesn't say anything. It says that his wife and his friends are still by his side, even through all this, whatever. If it was infidelity, I don't know how long he's been married. I don't see anything about his wife in his tweet. Of course, you might have heard that from somewhere else. But in his tweet, he doesn't say anything about his wife or whatever. But he does list out he lists out by name his dad and lists out like a whole bunch of things that he does bad to him. And then he lists out his mom and then a bunch of things. And then he lists out his sister and a bunch of things that they just do that like they're
His
doing to hurt him.
his dad made a statement recently. He was talking about. He said, as his father, I feel no wait, no, not shame. Pena. How would you describe pena, chiquis?
It's sort of like shit, embarrassed or shamed. That's
Embarrassed. No, yeah, you're embarrassed.
embarrassed.
Yeah, and disillusioned and deception of
Yeah.
what's going on with my son against the people. Okay, this is confusing. Okay, he seems like a rant. He goes on about sacrifice. And get to the point, old man. Um, yeah, he's he la cantinfleo, man. He went on a cantinflas like rant where he says a bunch of stuff and doesn't you don't know what he was talking about. Okay,
Those are
so that
classic
was
cantinflas.
okay. That's a waste of time. I was reading his dad statement from Medio Cierto. That's what I get for going to that site. Never mind. But the other stuff with the other Carlos, this one Bella, it's a
Yeah.
bit more saucy. So this was a lady boy that filtered
Oh yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
she filtered a WhatsApp chat or a chat from one of the which which makes me think it might not be real because I don't think any of these guys would be dumb enough to use their real name. You know,
Hmm.
like if you're gonna be using some social media to contact people, like to contact girls and stuff, I don't think they're gonna be that stupid where they're gonna put, you know, the real name and the real pictures and all that. Uh, and those are easy to fake. You know, you could take you could they're just easy to fake. To say, oh look, I got this.
Yeah,
Like if you
Photoshop.
send a screen cap, yeah, to send a screen cap and all that. Um, so that lost some traction. For like the first day, it was gaining momentum. Bella even said like I don't know who this person is. I don't know why they're doing this, but I have nothing to do with that. And and I think there's nothing there because I mean, if it was legit, then that person would take their phone. And even then,
Yeah.
it'll be kind of difficult. It'll be kind of difficult. Oh man, this player's getting in all these drama, chiquis. What are we gonna do with these guys?
Well, I think it's just in both cases, if the Vela thing is false, in both cases, just people that are after money,
Yeah.
people that want, because you can tell from Instagram and stuff that Carlos Salcedo's family, they like living the good life, and it seems like he's the source of the money.
Oh, for sure, man. Even the sister has gotten some internet fame. She
Yeah,
she does like a podcast or
the
like a
Rebaño or
TV.
Líderes
Yeah,
del Rebaño.
Líderes. Yeah, she does that. Uh, so she's like a mini celebrity within the Chi Hermanos, man. Speaking of Chi Hermanos, Chiquis, we had we had the former CEO of OmniLife, Jose Luis Higuera, man, and he gave an interview with Gurwitz, and he was just, you know, he was dropping some truth bombs on Matias Almeida, and it backfired on him. the fans are the fans hate him even more now. Uh, so so basically, Matias had claimed that he had loaned money to Chivas so that they could pay the players because they owe the players prize money. They owed them prize money, and at the time, Chivas was going through some financial problems. So, so you gotta said that we were gonna pay them. It was just taking us longer, and it was becoming an issue because some of the players were demanding. You know, they were making an issue out of not wanting to wait longer for the money. And Higuera went on to say that the only reason that Matias did the loan was because he had money tied up in Italy, and that was a way that he could move the money, I guess, to and then he could make money off of that because he charged Chivas high interest rates. Which people are criticizing him like, why would you be stupid enough to pay him the high interest rates? You know, it could have been to appease him, or maybe because they owed him money too. Who knows? Uh, but the fans, man, they turn on Higuera even harder, and they're just laying it on him. And I think, I think it was a mistake on his part to try to like air that out, especially now with Matias in San Jose and just not around. It was just his timing was wrong, and there's no need for that. But I also, it's something I've been saying for a long time, and my Chi hermanos criticized me a lot, where I said this guy isn't exactly the saint that we make him out to be. Mati,
Oh,
he's had his own interest because they always made him seem like he was like 100% for the club, and I'm not saying he's not genuine or that he didn't have good intentions, but he's always had, you know, his
he's got
priorities were elsewhere than what the majority of Chivas fans thinks they were. Like even when he signed that 5 year contract, he was never gonna do that 5 years unless no better options came around, So it's not like he really wanted to be in the club and he would have stayed no matter what. He was just doing it at that point more for the money.
yeah. You got to look after yourself. You can't blame him
Yeah.
for looking after himself.
Well, he was
It's
like,
amazing. It's
go on.
amazing what hugging a goat after winning the Copa
Yeah,
MX
yeah.
and and having like not long, luscious locks of hair can do to have
Golden
Chiva
locks.
have have Chivas and Manos be faithful to him forever.
Yeah, and he had said when they won, he's like, I'm gonna get a tattoo of the crest. You know, he said it during the whole euphoria of the win. Like, I'm tattooing the crest, and
Yeah,
then he goes get a tattoo, but it's of the cup. It's of like of a cup. She looks pretty phallic. It's like a weird looking cup, man. It's and I was like, that's not the crest, dude. The the JCO's
Uh,
goalkeeper coach showed more love, man. That guy
uh,
actually did get the Selección crest tattooed on his leg. We put a
oh man,
picture on our Facebook. If any of you faithful listeners want to join the La Cantina Facebook, quick plug right there. We have a face, tenemos el face, and we have an Instagram too. We have an Instagram where we'll put our ugly mugs pretty soon. Have a picture with our good friend Martin, and we're gonna post it up. You can see what you know.
yeah.
Ya viene
Yeah.
Halloween. We're gonna get a good scare.
Oh,
but and I'm gonna say this because I like Mati, but just the way he came to me, which was he knew that Chepo was working, and not only that, it was pretty savage that he had to do an interview with Nestor, who is Chepo's brother, you know. So he's getting an interview for the job, which is damn, that's pretty vicious, man,
yeah.
on Higuera's part. But then he's going along with it, man, and he already knew he was gonna stay because when he arrived with his squad, just like four other coaches with with enough luggage, you know. They didn't just have like the travel one. They didn't have the travel bag. They had like, they were bringing like all like 4 or 5 carry on and everything. Um,
For
so
long
yeah,
term stay.
yeah, man, he knew. So, and I'm gonna say he's ambitious, dude, man. But to the Chi hermanos, come on, man. He's not exactly a saint. He's had his he tried jumping ship a bunch of times. It just never worked out, man. His agent was all over the place, trying to get him Paraguay, trying to get him in La Liga. He tried, dude, and he failed every time. And it's very interesting how Chivas fans just kind of ignore that, or they like they pretend like it's not true.
Well, one Chiva fan in particular, our fellow Regal,
Ah, yes,
believes that there was a FMF or that what's his name, Vergara, blacklisted him from the national team, so he wasn't able to truly get a
yes,
shot.
yes. I agree with that, but and you know what I called it here when way back when um when Chivas had announced that they were parting ways with Matias, and so his agent filtered the letter where they were negotiating like uh, how much money he was gonna get, for if he signed off to you know they wanted it to be like a mutual termination as opposed to Chivas is firing you, like because Chivas just fires him. He's like, you know what, we don't want to work with you. They were gonna owe him like 3 years, I think, 3 years
Mm.
of wages. But if it was like a mutual, then they could come to an agreement and pay him less money. Um, and I think his agent filtering that, it just that wasn't gonna sit well with none of the owners because then you're not gonna trust that guy to do deals with, you know,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and especially with the way things are in FMF and just all over the Liga MX, just how they do. There's a lot of shady deals there, man. There just is. I mean, just Mati, the whole thing of the transfer money from Italy. I mean, it happens everywhere, not just in Mexico. We had the Panama Papers recently with all these players from La Liga, you know, going through
Hmm.
Panama to banks and all that. Yeah, and you always see these high profile players always get in trouble because, hiding money and hiding the, offshore accounts and all that. So it's so yeah, you're not gonna trust this dude. So I think a big part was his agent that screwed him over. I don't think on purpose, but screwed him over as far as like he hurt his chances just by trying to like. I guess they were trying to make Higuera look bad, but then he ended up looking bad himself.
Yeah, it's Mexico just being like a not. It's a risk. Like you think it looks like JCO. JCO is wanted to springboard, didn't really. Goes to Paraguay, and apparently he's wanting to springboard off of there. He's wanting to leave there after barely
Yeah,
getting the job. I think he wants Colombia. And then Almeida didn't get really what he wanted. He ends up going to San Jose. But I'm skeptical, or I'm thinking like, what is Tata Martino actually thinking, looking at all these people that go to Mexico and end up maybe they make a good bit of money, but then their career doesn't really progress. Like I think JCO specifically wanted his career to progress. He wanted to go to Europe and
yeah,
coach
he was
there,
definitely
but he didn't do the he didn't perform well enough to make the springboard.
no. What and JCO, and it's
What was
interesting you
that?
bring up
You broke up a little.
It's interesting you bring up JCO, along with Almeida, because they're fairly similar, where they saw success against the smaller teams. So remember JCO, the Mexican media was pumping sunshine on him because he's like, oh, he got to win in Canada. Mexico hadn't won in Canada like in 20 years. Uh, Never mind, they had played like maybe 2 times in those 20 years. you know, but that was the whole thing. Like, they won. They won in San Pedro Sula. And it's like, yeah, Mexico beat in Honduras. They just hadn't played in San Pedro Sula because they would play in their other stadium. Um,
Yeah,
I forgot the other venue. Um, Anyways, so stuff like that. But so with JCO, even like qualifiers and stuff, he was getting like all these wins, and his record was against all these teams that were like weaker than La Selección. They're
yeah.
beating all these. Same, very similar with Mati, where he won a lot of these cups, and it was against a lot of second division teams. Copa MX, majority of teams he beat were reservas or second division teams. He wins a Super Copa playing against Veracruz, you know,
Uh-huh.
which Veracruz had won the cup, and that's why they played Chivas. But the Veracruz that won the cup and the one that played Chivas were like two different squads. They had sold off all of their players, so he won the majority of his wins came against those teams. If you go and you look at his record, especially Liga MX record, and then you see his head to head against the strong teams, you know, which were
Mm-hmm.
the top five teams of that season. How did he do against them? And year after year, and it was not. It was he failed most of the time. Team didn't do good, and then at home he won a year without winning. Well, a whole season without winning at home for league play. So if you're scouting him, you're keeping, you're that's what you're valuing the most. The league, how he's doing in the league tournament against the really top teams. You're not seeing how he did against Liga de Ascenso, you know,
Yeah,
or how he did against MLS teams. No disrespect to those clubs, but you you're bringing him for a club coach. You wanna see how he excels in that, you know. And then the one season when they won, but that's when the club just opened a piggy bank and they spent about $60 million on players. That Chivas team was the third most expensive team, just under Tigres and Monterrey.
yeah, yeah. So I think he even if even getting blacklisted from the national team, he ended up pretty much where he was due.
Yeah,
If
that's
he
why I tell the Chillarmanos, like, if this guy is as good as you guys are making him out to be, then he should be in La Liga or EPL, you know,
or over CONMEBOL team,
maybe Bundesliga.
yeah. Mexico isn't the only place to springboard to. So you wanna finalize the show with the preview for the
Ah,
week 13?
yes, yes. Let me pull it out though, man. Let me whip it out, chiquis. Give me a second. Uh, here's calendario. Um, here it is. Match week 13, man. We're five,
By the way,
including the 13. You know, 5 more weeks left of Liga MX action, and then and there's still a lot of places up for grabs. You know, because it ends at Jornada 17. So match week 13. Here we go, man. One of your favorite matchups, Chiquis. Atlas versus Veracruz. This is, this
these
is pretty much against the worst teams, man. This is like watching bum fights.
bum fights. Those are actually entertaining though. These are the two last place teams.
Yeah, it's like you're forcing them to fight it out, man. Um,
Oh my
so that's
gosh,
that's
that's
Atlas
quotable
versus
right there.
Veracruz. Then you have Querétaro Gallos Blancos. They still have a chance, and they're playing Cruz Azul, who are they're the league leaders, man. Cruz Azul, man, the machine, and so that should be an interesting match. Um, and you have Pachuca versus Santos. Let me hold on. I need. Do you have a league table, Chiquis?
Yes, I do. Pachuca Santos,
Okay. No, Querétaro. What position are they on? Are they were like in ninth or 10?
they're eighth.
Eight. So yeah, the top eight go to Liguilla.
Yep.
So I mean, they need a good result against Cruz Azul. Cruz Azul are pretty much by this point in in the playoffs. A win would certainly leave them without a shadow of a doubt. That's a playoff team.
They're 10
Uh,
points ahead of Querétaro.
yeah, they would have to lose pretty much every game, which
Yeah,
I don't really see happening. I mean, not saying they can't, but no, this team is just they're on fire right now. So then, what place is Pachuca in, Chiquis?
Pachuca's in 11th.
Yeah, and they're playing Santos. Um, and
Santos
then
is third.
Santos has been doing good. They're they're right here. They have impressed us here at the Cantina because they let go of three really top players, man. They let go of Izquierdos, who was arguably the best defender in the Mexican League. This guy not only captained Santos, he would also score goals, important goals to boot. And then the other top defender who was Araujo, who we were talking about, seleccionado now, playing
Yep.
in La Liga. And then they sold Di Giannini, who last season was the league's top scorer. Man, and then the season before that, they had Marquezin, the goalkeeper. Man, this team is like, to let go of this many good players and still be top three. It's very impressive. Very impressive what's going on with the Saints. Uh, and then Pachuca's not doing too good. Not as good as, they've been in the past. So then we have America and Tijuana. And America just was last week. They got a big win against Tigres. Um,
Yep.
they're in second place, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. That's right.
What are they, like 1 point away from Cruz Azul?
2 points.
Yeah, so
20.
that's gonna be the big build up because we're gonna see the Clásico, which to me hurts me a bit to say it, but to me this Clásico Capitalino has been more intense than the Super Clásico, man. You know, uh,
Oh, wait.
even though it's
The Cruz Azul
well,
America.
yeah, just because they faced each other like in finales, or like in just in bigger games. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, Chivas did come up against against America with Almeida, twice in Liguilla, twice in the first round, and twice they sent us home. Gee, hermanos, forget that too. Anyways, anyways, that's the big build up, and I've been predicting this since Pelaez came on board to La Máquina that they're gonna finally turn it around because Cruz Azul has a history now for like what? Ah man, how's it going? Goes pretty far back. They're just owned. They're just pretty much they're owned by America, man. They just find ways to lose. So I do think they finally gonna have a good shot at defeating Las Águilas. Uh, but
Let's
so
see.
yeah, America Tijuana, and America is playing at home, so they want to win because they want to finish in the top places. Um, especially since they got knocked out of the cup. You know, and Cruz Azul is still in the cup. I think they're favorites. There must be favorites to win the cup tournament. They want the doblete, man. They're aiming high. Pelaez has it's ambitious guy, Pelaez, the general manager. Um,
Mhm.
then you have Necaxa León. These are two teams that started pretty weak, and then as the season progressed, they became stronger. What where do you have them placed at, Chiquis?
Their 14th is Leon and 15th Necaxa.
Okay, not too strong.
Sort of.
but but how many points are they from eighth?
Leon has 13, Necaxa has 12, and that's just 3 points away
Yeah,
from Querétaro.
there you go. Doesn't sound so bad now, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seem like they're doing bad, but at the start of the
That's pretty
season,
close.
this team seemed like they weren't gonna go anywhere, and I think it's Nacho. Nacho took over.
Necaxa.
Jesus, I'm confused. Huh? Necaxa, right?
Necaxa.
Yeah. So Nacho Ambriz. So
Oh
pretty.
wait,
What?
did he take over
So
Leon? Or
here's one. He's been in both.
no, he's at
he's
Leon.
been.
Yeah, he's at Leon. He's been at
He's been in
Necaxa. He's at Leon.
Necaxa. Yeah. He's gonna be one of those coaches that's gonna end up coaching every team because
Yeah,
he was already at Chivas. You know.
yeah.
He's he's yeah.
Leaño's at Necaxa.
20 years from now, you're still gonna be hearing about Nacho, man. He's gonna be at Los Buap or something. Um, and then you have Monterrey Toluca. This should be another really good game. Um, top game because Monterrey, man, they're trying to bounce back. They haven't been as good as people expect them. Pizarro hasn't. He was their top signature. They paid about 17 million for him. He's been a no-show or not as good as you know, as they paid for. And then Toluca, who's man, they've been knocking at the door for the league. They were finalists last season uh, against Santos, so they lost. Um, any take on that, Chiquis?
On the
Rayados versus Diablos.
uh, well, I mean, I think I even picked Rayados to win the whole
You
league,
picked
but
it.
they've been. Let me see where they're at. They're at six. They haven't been lighting it up as much as I'd like, and then Pizarro I don't think has been doing
No.
as well as I thought he would. So I think they're going to maintain a good, their same level. They're sort of in the middle of the
Yeah.
Liguilla qualified, and they'll bomb out eventually. But this
Yeah.
Toluca match, this is in Monterrey though, so yeah,
Yeah.
this should be a fun match. Toluca is in fifth place, so they're right next to each other, fifth and sixth. So yeah,
Yes.
it should be a pretty competitive match.
Yeah, it certainly will be. And then we have Chivas visiting Lobos. And for Chivas, this is a must win. They need those 3 points if they want to stay in the fight. Uh, if they don't get the 3 points, it's pretty much, well, it already is an uphill battle, but this would just make it that much more difficult and less likely for them to qualify. So if they could get this win, it would be major boost for them. So Chivas, especially because they lost. They lost against Pumas, the previous match week. Had they
Yeah,
tied, it would have made a difference. And as we saw earlier, looking at the tabla, those 1-2 points can make a massive difference. You know, can make a massive difference between 14th and 8th, as well as goal differential. So then we have, this is probably going to be also one of the big games. Pumas Tigres, man.
yeah. That's my cat fight. That's my cat fight of the week, man.
It is, especially Tigres coming from a defeat. They can't afford another defeat, man. Without the pressure mounting on, even though they don't get the same pressure as the big clubs, you know, but they just they can't afford 2 defeats in a row. It would really start making things complicated for them. Where is
Yeah,
Tigres right now?
Tigres is they're in seventh.
Yeah, see, so you don't want to drop. You don't want to like with 4 games left in the season. You don't want to go. You don't want to be fighting to get into the eighth. You want to be pretty comfortable. And I was predicting that because their last match week is going to be against Chivas. I was predicting that by the time they got there, they would already be qualified. But the way things are shaping up, they might still be fighting for a spot. Which would not look good for Chivas. Yeah, that's who's not very strong at home, and you don't want a team like Tigres. You know,
Yeah, if they're
hung,
they're
hungry,
they're
hungry Tigers,
yeah, yeah. If they're hungry and they go
and they're
in
gonna go eat
desperation
some
mode,
goat.
yeah, go
And
have some goat for
eat some.
lunch and
Yeah, no, no bueno. And then we have Morelia, Puebla. I haven't kept up with these clubs, so I don't know where they're at. I think Morelia was doing pretty good,
yeah,
pretty
Morelia's
good.
they're doing okay. They're ninth. Puebla's in 13th. But yeah, it's Puebla. Morelia's right under Querétaro for the eighth spot.
Yeah,
Uh,
Morelia, they sold their top striker, which was a Peruano, Ruidas,
Rui Diaz.
Ruidiaz.
Yeah,
Yeah, they sold him off to MLS, and he was he was a difference maker, man. He would score some clutch goals, and I thought they were gonna suffer, but to be a ninth, seems like they're keeping up, especially being a team that didn't invest heavily, didn't really bring in anyone noteworthy. Um, So for them to still be there, they're doing pretty. They're doing better than expected. As for Puebla, that's Paco Palencia's team, man. No, wait, Paco Palencia's in Lobos. Who's in Puebla, man? I forget who they. They're
let's
both
see.
Puebla. That's because of both. Lobos is also from Puebla, but they're the university team. That's the
Yeah.
Buap. That's the
Mesa,
Buap part.
old
Huh?
man Mesa, old man Mesa.
Oh, that's right. Ojitos. Who's
Ojitos.
he's a good coach, man.
Yeah,
He's a
de
very
Puebla.
good coach. He had been in Morelia, so he helped with the Morelia revival. Yeah, Ojitos is interesting because, if I'm not mistaken, it was around the time that, because Morelia is owned by TV Azteca, so around the time that TV Azteca acquired Atlas, they sort of forgot about Morelia and they were putting all their money into Atlas. They had Rafa Marquez and they were trying to build that team up. That's going to be their franchise team. But then you have Atlas can't even make it to Liguilla, and you have Morelia, winning all these good games and putting up the good fight, and yeah, they're like the forgotten man. They're like the redheaded stepchild that Azteca has forgotten, they're still overachieving. So good for them. Good for them. So
Yeah,
hopefully someone that cares for the club will buy it.
yeah. I was impressed with one of the games from Carlos Fierro.
Carlos, that's right. They have Carlos Fierro, man. I almost forgot about him. He's
Yeah, he
hey
didn't
he,
play the most recent one, but all right, I think he came in as a sub. But yeah, one game he played
hey.
well that I
I
watched.
still have faith that he's gonna be a late bloomer.
Yeah,
He's 24. We've had players like Oribe Peralta and even like Matador Hernandez that didn't really blow up till they were like 28.
it's a possibility.
And you know, Carlitos Fierro already has 2 trophies under his cabinet. Well, three, an under 17 cup. He was with Chivas when they won the doblete, and then he won with Querétaro the Copa MX. So yeah,
Ah, yeah.
he has a few trophies there, man. At least replica trophies right there in his cabinet. Hey, not bad, dude. Not bad of a career. You call him a fracaso, but very few players are gonna make it pro, and even less are gonna get to win championships.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, speaking of that, like trophies and stuff, did you see the picture of Almeida in San Jose with with the picture of all his trophies? That was quite impressive. I was like, whoa,
yeah, yeah. Well, he
got a
has
ton of
well
them.
the oh well. I mean, if they combine the ones he did as a player with the one as coach,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think all of them, all of
he
them.
has he has quite a few.
Yeah, man, sounds this is a pretty good weekend of Liga MX.
Yeah, he's gonna get back into action, uh, closing in, and despite the whole Tata Martino, it's not a, you know, it's it hasn't been confirmed. Really strong rumor, but it hasn't been made official. I still think there might be a possibility that you might have a Piojo or even a Tuca sneak in and take the job. So who knows? We'll see. I
Yeah,
think a lot of it's going to depend on how the league shapes up, how some of these teams look, because that's what we've seen with the national team a lot of times. A coach that's been doing good, they end up with the selección. When Chepo took over, he had won a bicampeonato with Toluca, and he had like, and then before that he had won with Chivas. This guy was coming off of three league championships. Um, Ojitos Mesa, he had looked really good with Necaxa. He got to the final. They lost to Chivas, but then he went to Toluca, and that Toluca was one of the it's very epic team, and they had won a couple titles, and that's when he got handed over the selección. Same with Manuel Puente. He had turned Necaxa into quite a legacy team, and that he got the selección as well. And then before that, when he first got it back in 90, like 91, 90, he had one with Puebla. So that you have this strong tradition of a coach that's doing really good in the league to inherit the selección. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens again. You know.
well, Tata's been at Atlanta, and I've been surprised at the attendance that team gets.
Oh,
They've beaten a bunch of Liga MX games as far as attendance at their stadium.
yeah. There's a lot of MLS has good attendance, man. Even
Well,
LAFC, their stadium's not that big. Seattle, dude, the
yeah, Seattle
Sounders.
and but like Atlanta's like an expansion team, and they just came
Yeah.
out like all like blowing up. I guess that city
Well, same,
wanted
dude.
a soccer team.
Same with LAFC and Seattle from the get go. I'm not too sure on Chicago, but yeah, some of these, it's one of the leagues with the better attendance. record.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I don't know what kind of love he gets there in Atlanta, how much he likes it.
Yeah,
But
we didn't do a record to see how they're doing, to see what position they're in, what's their league record, what are their chances of winning the coveted MLS Cup and all that. Eh, Para la próxima, para la próxima, chiquis, we'll have to. We just
actually,
we just we just have the hate that with
actually,
Messi, with with coaching Messi, he failed to win at
oh
both
yeah.
Argentina and Barca. That's all the stats we need.
Well, like you should have seen. Did you hear what Faitelson
Maybe
told those
with
guys on
you
Picante?
mean Thomas Boy and Hugo Sanchez?
Yeah, he slammed both of them, and he said, "There's nobody in Mexico that can match his skill level as a coach. Nobody in Mexico has coached Barcelona," and he just like shut them
Yeah,
up. They were like all upset. But Atlanta's in
yeah.
first place in the Eastern Conference.
Ah, well, there you go. There you go, man. There you go. So we'll see. We'll see if what happens. So yeah,
Yeah,
not bad. Not bad, man. Not bad. But that's the other joke. If he couldn't win with Messi, what hope do we
yeah,
have in Mexico? Will you
yep.
able? Can you win with the trophies? What's gonna happen?
Will they even bring the trophies?
That's the closest we have to Messi, dude. No joke.
If he ever gets called up, like
It's the
they don't
closest we
trust him.
have every so often when he pulls something out of his ass.
Yeah,
Not consistently, but every now and then he'll do he'll do something that looks reminiscent. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, Chiquis, I think that's all she wrote, man.
Alrighty. Uh, yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. Thanks to everyone
Yeah,
who listens or will listen on. Have this podcast up on iTunes and Google Play tomorrow, and make sure to follow us on the Facebook page, Cantina MX underscore pod on Twitter and also on Instagram. I need to hook
in
you
the
up with the
Instagram.
Instagram account. So I've been
Yeah,
slacking on it, but
yeah, me too, man. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe, hit that like button, and the la campanita as well. That helps us.
alrighty. Well, thanks everyone for listening, and we will see you guys next week, or maybe we come on tomorrow night. Maybe some guys come on tomorrow night. We'll see. Talk to you guys later.